Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan?
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? And welcome to another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas and I am Juan Ramirez. Let's get some business out of the way. If you are listening to us on the audio version of the show, the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure that you rate us, write us a review. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, and leave us a comment. Follow us on social media at X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. We're going to start the show the way we start all of our shows, and that is with some base running blunders. Amy, do we have any base running blunders?
No, I think we took care of them in the last episode. I think we're starting with a clean slate.
Damn, we're good. That's a great job. I applaud you right there.
Right back at you, partner.
Since we're patting each other on the back here, I think I want to take this time to acknowledge the fact that at the beginning of the week, we promised you that we were going to try to drop content every day of this week. We still don't have a set schedule on this show, and that's why it's very important that you guys follow us on social media so you are notified of when we are dropping content. But we did it, Amy. We dropped episodes Monday through Friday. Now, I've learned my lesson. I don't think I'm ever going to promise this ever again. But how do you feel about the fact that we did a daily show for at least a week? And I have to say, for those guys that do daily shows, I applaud you. This was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
I'm proud of us for doing a whole complete week. So in my mind, we just did a complete game. We pitched all the way through, starting pitchers. So good for us. And we ended this week without a base running blunder that we know about. So, but yes, the prep and just making sure that we have enough content. No joke. Like I love doing this. I love talking baseball with you. I love talking baseball with all our listeners. But we put some work in this week.
We put in work, and if anybody is new to the show, if when you hear us talking about base running blunders, that's the segment of the show where we basically call out our own mistakes or things that need to be corrected. So, if you listen to any of our shows in the past and there's something that we did not that we got wrong, please make sure call us out on it. Send us messages either via social media or the YouTube. Let us know and we will include it in our base running blunder section at the beginning of the show.
I mean, don't go looking for it. It's not a Where's Waldo of base running blunders. But we do really try to have integrity in our work and get things right. So we're trying.
Yeah, don't be that guy. All right. Just don't be that guy. Try
Be
to have fun.
kind. Be kind.
Yeah. Try to have fun when you're either listening or watching the show. Try to enjoy it. Let's there's some interesting stories that I want to get into. This may not be as heavy in terms of on the field action as our last episode, but these were intriguing stories, and that's what we do on this show. Sometimes we talk about stories that you probably aren't going to hear anywhere else. We like to go ahead and devote time to it, and that's why we're different here. But I saw this story probably late Wednesday night, and there were more I received more details on this story throughout the day on Thursday.
And then you got my flurry of texts after the fact.
Yeah, so there's some confusion going around. So hopefully we can go ahead and clarify things. But it appears that Trevor Bauer is going to be pitching against the Dodgers on Sunday, March 10th. Is that correct, Amy? Did I get that right?
You got the headline correct, yes.
And that's what I saw first, right? I saw that headline that Trevor Bauer is joining a Japanese team that will be facing the Dodgers in an exhibition game. Okay. That's what I saw before I went to sleep that Wednesday night. Then Thursday, I got more information. And then I felt like I was hoodwinked. I was just like, what? Bamboozled, thrown astray. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Um, so I actually got some listeners, some viewers reaching out to me and saying, "Did you see this? That Trevor Bauer is going to pitch against the Dodgers." So I'm going to take time here to clear the record, guys. Technically, he is going to pitch against the Dodgers. Amy, do you want to explain to the people what's really happening here?
Yeah, so when I got your messages saying that he was going to pitch on Sunday, which is when I will be at spring training, I was like, wait, for a Japanese team, I bought tickets and uh, we're playing against the Diamondbacks. So it turns out he is going to be pitching for a team called Asian Breeze. They're a Japanese travel team, and they essentially try to get undiscovered players in front of scouts. So it is, he'll be pitching 3 innings in a B game. So he is not pitching against the major league level Dodgers. He is going to be pitching against a minor league level team of the Dodgers.
And these games are going to take place on the training fields at Camelback Ranch. Look, I know that just mentioning the name of Trevor Bauer, generates a lot of feelings for people. What I found very interesting about this immediately was that the Dodgers are just not commenting on this story at all. They have been asked many times, like, how do they feel about facing their former pitcher, Trevor Bauer, a man who they released because he was suspended under Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy, a man that they ended up paying money to just go away to. So the fact that the Dodgers aren't commenting, the fact that Dave Roberts, basically said no comment when he was asked about it. What I also find interesting is I think there were actually thoughts because of this that they were going to cancel the game, that the Dodgers were going to ask for the game to be canceled. But it turns out the Dodgers don't want to do that. They don't want to cancel the game because they feel canceling the game would increase more attention to this. And that's what I'm getting at, Amy, because that's what this is really about, right? This is just about Trevor Bauer trying to get attention for himself.
I mean, I guess my initial thoughts when I realized that this was a minor league game and he's not actually going to be pitching against the major league level Dodgers was with the such intense focus on international players. We landed 2 of them this offseason. I just feel like it's unfortunate because there could be another Japanese player on that team or whoever is on that travel team that could be undiscovered that could have that spot to try to get in front of a scout. And so I guess that was my main thought was just, that sucks. To your point about like the attention and whatnot, there could be another player who could have that spotlight who is truly undiscovered and might need that time in front of a scout.
Look, and I get it because some people will make the argument that, well, Trevor Bauer being there is going to call more attention. So there's more of a chance that these other players will be seen because basically what Asian Breeze is, other than having one of the best names, and I think that might just become the name of my new fantasy football team, which, by the way, I'll be going into next season as the defending champion because for the first time ever, I won my fantasy football. So
By accident or strategy?
No, strategy, of course. Everybody knows how my brilliant mind works.
Okay.
But so since I won the championship and my team name was Mexican Fletch, I think it's time to retire Mexican Fletch and have Mexican Fletch just walk off as a champion. And perhaps my new name next year will be Asian Breeze. But
I feel like there might be some copyright issues. Maybe go with Mexican Breeze, maybe hybrid it a little bit.
Mexican Cool Breeze. Come on, Cool Breeze. Yeah, I
there
get
we
it.
go.
All right.
There we go.
So I know that there'll be people that will argue that this is a good thing, but for me, this just reeks of a publicity stunt, and almost not only a publicity stunt, but am I being too harsh by just saying this also reeks of desperation? It's a travel ball. It's basically a glorified travel ball team.
I'm gonna take the Dave Roberts Dodgers front office route, and I have no comment. So there you
I
go.
see. Okay, you're a better person than I am. I get it. I get it. You have class, whatever. I just look for me. I don't know. Look, I don't follow the guy, but for me, this just is another example of this guy trying to stay relevant. I know he has made statements that I'm not banned for life, and it's like I know that a lot of people will use the fact that because of his off the field problems, that's why teams stayed away from him. And I guess he ended up having a pretty decent season where he played in Korea. It was Korea, or did he play in the Japanese league?
Ooh,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I
Before,
will completely admit that I did not follow anything that had to do with him last
all
year.
right, I'm gonna own that. That's gonna be a base running blunder. But he ended up, God damn, I should have researched this before we went on the show. He was either KBO or he played. I know he played for the Bay Stars. So, and he ended up, I guess, having a decent season there. But the fact that no teams are showing any interest in him, and I don't know if you saw this, and I expect you didn't see this, Amy, but he had posted on social media this video where he faced a guy who I think is maybe a social media star or something like that. He's a non-major leaguer, right? And so the guy ended up getting like 2 hits off of Trevor Bauer. And I'm just sitting there looking at myself going, why would he allow this? Why would he allow this video to be posted? This, I don't think, is helping him. Yeah, it might get views, but for me, it looks like, bro, a guy off the street got 2 hits off of you, and you are a major leaguer, and not only a major leaguer, a former Cy Young Award winner, and you're gonna promote this? I just
I
again,
think you're making your own point right now. I think you're bolstering the point you made a few moments ago.
and that's what I am I am representing myself in this case. And this is the only reason why I wanted to talk about this, because I know a lot of people are bringing it up, and I talk to Dodger fans, and they still say, well, what about, why don't the Dodgers sign Trevor Bauer on a minimum salary? And I'm just like, listen to yourself. Are you hearing yourself? Like, in what world? The Dodgers cut him. The Dodgers paid him to go away. In what world do you guys think they're going to change their mind and say, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring him back. I mean, they're actually refusing to even comment on the fact that he's going to pitch in an exhibition game against minor leaguers. Now, I understand, because when I initially saw this story, Amy, I thought he was going to be pitching in Korea. When the Dodgers go to the
Which is
Seoul
what a
series,
lot of the headlines made it sound like. Some of them said he will be pitching against the Dodgers in 3 days, which is what triggered for me. Like, I don't think that's right. But other people were just like, he's going to be pitching against the Dodgers, which, to your point, well, he was playing in the Japanese league. Well, I guess that makes sense. But yeah.
So yeah, when I saw that, because the Dodgers are playing 2 exhibition games before they play the Padres in Seoul. So I thought he had signed with one of those teams, and that he was going to be facing the Dodgers, like the Major League Ball Club. And then that, I knew that was going to be like, it was going to be enticing. It was going to generate views. People would want to see that. I'm sure people would want to see the Dodgers try to light him up. I'm sure there's going to be people there that would want to see Trevor Bauer just dominate the Dodgers. I get it. But at the same time, to your point, Amy, what you were saying about taking a spot, to be fair, Asian Breeze, they reached out to him. That's the story. That how
And
true that is.
And that's fine, even if they reached out to him, but some person, had they not reached out to him, could have had that spot. So whether it was Asian Breeze or him reaching out, to me, that's moot. There is a player who could have been exhibitioning. I'm not even going to use that word. Exhibiting their talent, and like they're not going to get that opportunity.
No, yeah, and you're absolutely right, and that I think that is a valid point there because you would think a former major leaguer, a former Cy Young Award winner with an agent would be able to have ties to reach out to major league teams and wouldn't have to resort to playing in this exhibition game in order to get, and whether that's the reason he's doing it, I don't know. It's pure speculation on my point on my part, but it's this whole thing just reeks to me as just a way for him to stay relevant, a way for his name to be continued to be bandied about. Where now you're going to get people who are going to say, "Yeah, I mean." Why doesn't Trevor Bauer have a job? Why hasn't any team taken a chance? There are teams that need pitching. Why don't they sign Trevor Bauer? Hey, look, I'm sure Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell are saying the same thing. Like, why hasn't anybody signed any of us? So I know we've already spent
We need
way
to
more.
we need to focus on the positive here. You have a new fantasy football team name. So there's your silver lining.
All right. Or should I call it Mexican Asian Breeze? Should that be the name of my fantasy football team? Mexican
So
Asian
you
Breeze?
were going with like fusion. We're gonna have like a
Uh,
fusion name.
I
Okay.
see what you did there. Oh, you're
Mhm.
good. You,
Mhm.
you, you are very good.
I
You did what
know.
you did. You're good. You're good. I know that we have spent way too much time on the story, more than you wanted to spend, Amy. So let's digress to what the main point of the show today. There's an interesting story in The Athletic, and it was written by a number of people, right, Amy? I know
Uh,
one of them was Fabian.
if the real estate one, that
Yeah.
that one was Andy McCullough wrote this one.
Well, I think what happened was there were contributions by multiple writers. So I think Andy McCullough is the one getting the sole credit, but he did at the end of the article. There is thanks to people who contributed to the article.
Yep, you're right. At the very, very, very bottom, there are about 5 names who contributed to it. So,
I'm sorry. What'd
gold,
you say?
gold, gold star to you because you were right.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
You were right.
I see whenever you whisper it, I hear it so clearly. It's fascinating. This article, if you guys get a chance, you should check it out because it was like a window into a world that I don't know why I didn't think that it would exist, because after I read the story, it makes perfect sense, right, Amy?
Was irritated because I was thinking of writing a story like this last week. I was trying to think of topics, and I was like, I wonder what happens on the heels of Kike coming down here. Like, what does his wife do? Like, what does that look when people are like when people scramble, or like JT's going to Toronto? Now they're uprooting their life in whatever city they were in prior to that, and then 4 days later, there's an article in the Athletic, and I'm like, who's tapping my brain? But just the fact that they are throwing light on this, I think is a great thing. Like, again, we're getting that curtain pulled back a little bit more, where the article
Can you
starts.
can you let, for the people who don't know what we're talking about, can you
Yes,
set up?
yes. So I was getting there.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
I'm so rude. A thousand pardons. A thousand pardons.
so the article starts out talking about former Dodgers pitcher. He's pitched all around the league, Rich Hill, and he owns a home in I believe is it Toluca Lake?
Yeah,
And
Toluca
so
Lake.
other players have stayed in his home when he's not there. He's playing for other teams. So when Kike moved back, he asked to see if that was available. And then the article unfolds with how the majority of baseball players have to do this. Some of them swap homes. Austin Barnes has lived in Rich Hill's house. I think Dave Roberts has even lived there for a minute. And just the fact that if you get last minute notice that you are traded to another team, or they pick up your contract, not only that player has to show up and report, but their family has to uproot as well. So some of this is eased by other players who either live in that area, may not be living in their home at that time, and they allow other players to live in their homes.
Yeah, who knew that Rich Hill was the most popular landlord, I think, in Major League Baseball? So, yeah, Austin Barnes had lived in the house that Rich Hill had bought back when he was on the Dodgers and living there. And then once the Dodgers didn't re sign him and he left, he rented out the house to Austin Barnes. And it got to the point. Austin Barnes said he'd lived there 1 year in his house, and then Dave Roberts was actually asking about it, but it wasn't available. So I don't think Dave Roberts ended up actually living there. And there's a great quote in the story where like all these people are calling Rich Hill about, hey man, is your house available? And it cracks me up because the story mentions it's like, look, non-baseball people need houses too. And so there are non-baseball players currently living in Rich Hill's Toluca Lake house. And he's like, I'm not going to kick them out. But it was a little bit eye-opening to me, right? Because you do think like there are so many players that you hear they have off-season homes. Like my home is in Arizona. It's like, okay, so like where do you live during the season? Does the team have housing for you guys? Do you live like in a condo in downtown LA? Like do you actually like buy a house? Because I think Freddie Freeman, I don't know if he still kept his house in Atlanta, or if he officially just sold it and then moved to Orange County, because I think he lived in Atlanta when he played with the Bravos, but in the off season he would come out to California, right, Amy?
Because his family was there. One of the actual examples that they used in the story was DJ LeMahieu, and saying that he in the off season he lives in a Detroit suburb in Michigan where he owns two homes, and so for the last 10 years he's rented out the secondary residence to various Tigers players on the team, and he said that so many players have stayed there that he's lost track. And that typically when he comes back, there's new stuff. It's super clean. They always leave it better than when they were there. And so I mean, it's got to feel good to be able to help out other players, especially like a lot of the examples in the story we're just talking about. Like some of them had like a literal swap. Somebody got traded to a team. They let somebody stay in their house. They ended up getting traded back to the team, and that player got traded away. So he got his house back. And it's just like the musical chairs that's getting played with these homes and where players are moving around. It's just little things I think we don't think about on a daily basis when we're watching a baseball game, or we're seeing, oh look, so and so got traded at the trade deadline, and he's going to show up in the clubhouse the next day. Well, there's work behind the scenes that still has to be done.
Right, and another thing that I learned is that a lot of these players' wives seem to become real estate experts because some of these wives are the ones that actually broker these deals. There's been examples in that story about players saying, "Look, my wife handles all of this," and that's got to be stressful because especially if they have children, it's like, what am I going to do with the kids? Like Clayton Kershaw's wife, we know many times stays back in Texas while the kids are in school, and so I think those are the things that we lose sight of. And so, like, I know when Rodriguez of the Tigers last year, declined the trade to the Dodgers because he didn't want to live in the West Coast. And I know that he got a lot of shit for that. But this is the kind of stuff that I don't think the fan takes into account. If you're a player and you have a family, that's a big deal to ask your family, hey, um, do you want to move? We got to take the kids out of school. We got to find a new house. We got to get furniture for the new house. We got to do all this stuff. Or do I just go by myself? Like, I know for me, it would be hard to be away from my family and only be able to do FaceTime calls with them. So look, I strongly encourage you to if you have a subscription to The Athletic, to check out that story, because that story was it was very interesting to me.
You bring up a good point too about even just the time. Like I think it was Mookie Betts in a previous article. I can't remember which one. There's been quite a few about him lately. But essentially, like even this off season, he's gotten to spend time, like actually spending time with his son, which he didn't get with his daughter because he was playing during the season. And how many players, they go on paternity leave for what, like 1 or 2 days, and then they're back in uniform and playing on the field. When they're playing in a season, that's a grueling schedule. They're for the better part from spring to autumn, they are on the road or they are in their stadium but that's time you're missing with your family, seeing your kids grow up, seeing just those milestone moments, or even if you don't have kids, just spending time with your friends or your family. And they give up a lot for this game. They get a lot too. But these are some of the things I think we forget when we're just watching them for those, 2.5, 3 hours on the field. There is a lot of prep. There's a lot of family time. There's a lot of energy that goes into being a baseball player. And they they really bring it out on the field and outside of that.
Well, I think the Silver Fox, I think that's what the Silver Fox, Chase Utley actually cited when he finally retired, was the fact that he wanted to be home with his children. He, wanted to see as much as he could because, yeah, he had missed, a lot while they were growing up. Well, one of the other things that I always thought this was the case, but this story I think does a wonderful job of clarifying this, and that is that the Major League Baseball teams do provide resources, and so do agents. So it's not like these guys are all on their own, or it's up to their spouse to be like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I go online? Do I go to Zillow?
Just gonna find something on Craigslist.
Yeah, do I go to Craigslist? So, but the other thing that I thought was interesting was it's part of the collective bargaining agreement, that there are provisions that to compensate players for living expenses, especially if they're cut or if they're traded. So it's not all just complete anarchy where it's all of a sudden, all right, get out of dodge. Well, where do I go? Where do I live? But I remember talking to a lot of these guys, especially when they're starting their career, the minor leaguers. A lot of them, when they go to spring training, they end up living with some other minor leaguer and be like, "Hey, man, can I crash with you?" I mean, housing is an important part of sports, and I feel like this article really did a wonderful job of shedding light on that.
Yeah, when I was reading it, it reminded me of that scene in Moneyball where they cut one of the players or they trade him and they were like, "Oh, just contact, so and so in the clubhouse and he'll direct you or, he'll get you set up." And it's so that just made me think of the point you made about, the CBA and making sure that they do have a contact. They're not going to Craigslist as we joked, but that, they are being provided for, but sometimes even that you've got to think that sometimes the ball can't get rolling that fast. So that's where I think some of the wives or partners step in and really just kind of close the gap there too.
Look, I know a lot of us just view all these baseball players as millionaires, and this sounds like first world problems, like But you also have to account there's a lot of people in this league that are making the league minimum. Now, yes, the league minimum still is a lot of money, but there's a guy, he signs a 1-year lease. And I think there's an example in that story where it's just like, look, man, just cover my mortgage. I just don't want to lose money. I'm not interested. I think it might have been
I
Caleb
think that was
Ferguson.
Caleb Ferguson.
Yeah, Caleb Ferguson is just like, look, just live there, just cover my mortgage. I just don't want to lose money. I don't want to make money off of you. I'm tired of losing money. So it is one of those things that I don't think you even think about, where it's like, shit, I signed a 1-year lease and now I got to go live in Cincinnati. So what happens? They're not going to let me out of this lease. Am I paying rent now in 2 different locations, even though I'm not living there?
Well, and Alex Cora had referenced a story from 2005 where he swapped with Ramon Vasquez, and Cora had been living in a four bedroom, 2-story place with a yard, and Vasquez was in a tiny little apartment. And so they swapped. They were paying the same amount, but depending on where you get traded to, that a place in LA is going to cost way more with probably less square footage than if you're getting somewhere in the Midwest. So it's a lot of things to take into consideration.
Absolutely. So definitely check out that article, Andy McCullough and the Athletic.
It's all because there were multiple writers, as Juan shared with me.
I'm sorry, what happened there? What?
When you were right, I think about multiple
Oh yeah,
writers. Yeah,
I,
that.
I love it when a plan all comes together. Um, Before we wrap things up, look, spring training is about to end in Arizona for the Dodgers. By the time you guys are watching or listening to this episode, it'll be Friday. And the Dodgers' last game in Arizona in the Cactus League is on Wednesday. And after that, they head to Korea. So I don't know about you, Amy, but it feels like this spring training has flown. It feels like it just started and now all of a sudden it's over.
I feel like we're only a week in and we're what, 2 weeks, I think, at this point, at least of actual games. Like, but I mean, it's been almost a month. Where does the time go? I just
Yeah,
Do you have a
I
favorite moment, or like is there something that stands out for you like as we get ready for the regular season? Just something that, I don't know, made you happy about spring training?
I think probably for me it's got to be the seeing Shohei Otani and Yamamoto play their first games, for the Dodgers, especially Yamamoto's first outing. But I know it seems like the hitters. I feel like they're ready. I'm just curious if this because it does feel short to me, because after all, now Emmett Sheehan, we haven't seen him all spring training and he was supposed to be the Dodgers' fifth starter. So I think Gavin Stone now has benefited from the fact that this is a shortened spring training, so to speak, because they're playing those games in Korea. So I'm very curious to see how the pitching, once the season actually starts, how does the pitching look? Did enough pitchers, and I know they talked about it on the broadcast before the game got canceled, but these next few days, Rick Monday said it's probably going to be Dave Roberts and the Dodgers coaching staff going up to the players saying who wants more at bats, going to the pitchers and saying who needs more work, and those are going to be the guys that we're probably going to see these next few days.
I mean, it makes sense. The fact that we've only got 6 more games after this, I mean, I don't know where the time goes. I think seeing everybody back on the field has been great, especially as we get this dynamic roster together. So without a doubt, it's definitely the games. I think it was just seeing the cohesion too, though. Like the video that Oscar did when, they're getting ready for photo day, or, for me, obviously it's going to be getting Kike back, and the antics that ensue either on the field and off the field. But there's been a lot of really good content out there just from people on social media. Players messing with each other on the field. Somebody posted, I think it was like Dodger Stadium Bound, put Teoscar messing around with Shohei while they're doing their warm-ups. It's just seeing these guys gel together has been so fun for me. I cannot wait to see that in person.
And by in person, let's preview the fact that Amy is going to be at spring training this weekend. So when she returns, we are going to get some baseball Shangri-La reports directly from Amy, because she will be there seeing the action up front. Amy, what are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
All of it. No, just seeing the players being back in the stadium seats. I've got all my scorecards packed. I want to see
Nail
them.
it.
All my pencils. Um, just being there. Like, I mean, you were there last year too. Just being in the ballpark, being surrounded by fans, everybody's happy to be there. Just seeing the players up close, seeing how everybody's performing, and you get your nerd alert ready again. I also have the Saber conference, so depending on how schedules line up, I may be getting to attend some of the courses, sections, seminars there. So it'll be a good weekend.
And large crowds are expected this weekend. Are all your games at Camelback Ranch? Because
Yes.
you'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right?
Yep. I planned it because we had all of the games in one weekend. We're playing the Rangers, so I was like, oh, World Series. We're also playing the Diamondbacks, so I wanted, retribution. But this is also the season ticket holders, the Dodgers membership celebration weekend. So there's going to be a lot of season ticket holders there this weekend too.
All right, fabulous. So we're going to have all those stories next week. So that is a perfect way to end the program. Any last words before we end the show, Amy?
Yay, spring training.
All right, so let's get the business out of the way here, folks. For those of you listening on the audio version on the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. Follow us on social media on X at BP Shangri-La, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. This has been another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.